All right, have you listened to all the things, all the writing advice, and you really do believe that it should work? Because it sounds like great advice and it makes sense, but when you sit down to write, you still just can't seem to get the words down. You get distracted, or there's just a buzz of other stuff in your head. In other words, you followed all the great writing advice, but it still isn't working for you. If that is you, then this episode is for you. We're going to talk about what is probably the missing element that is making it difficult for you, and how you can start to implement that writing advice and actually make it work for you. So stay tuned. Hi there, aspiring fiction author. Welcome to Fiction Author Business School. Do you want to write your stories with ease and confidence? Do you find yourself Googling how to write a fiction book or how to write a character arc? Do you want to create a fiction empire, but you can't even finish the story you're currently working on, and you find yourself doubting it will even be good enough? Hi, I'm Liesl. I too have been writing stories since I was just a kid. I wanted to do something about my fiction writing dreams, but got information overload every time I looked for writing help, because there's just so much out there on the internet. I wanted confidence that I wouldn't disappoint my readers, and a plan to publish regularly. I knew the foundation of any author career, including the marketing aspect, is a stellar and well-written story, but I didn't know how to be sure that my story was solid. I went on a journey to figure out what really makes readers tick and how to incorporate those addictive elements into my story. In this podcast, you'll find specific, tactical fiction writing tips, solutions to writing more words more efficiently, and secrets to mastering your author mindset. So, put on your fuzzy slippers, grab a notebook and pen and some chocolate, and let's write some fiction. All right, so a couple of episodes ago, I talked about how to make sure that you actually write during your writing time. I talked about things like time blocking and, getting rid of distractions, planning ahead of time, all of those things. You can go back and listen to that from a couple of episodes ago if you want. But I got an email after that episode that basically said that they had tried all those things and none of it worked for them. Now, my first real reaction to that was to kind of chuckle. I mean, we all have our days where we just can't get into the right headspace to do our writing, right? So we've all been there. But at the same time, it's one of those things where I did talk about discipline, just good old-fashioned discipline. You just got to get it done. And there's a lot of truth to that. When it comes right down to it, I can't write your story for you. I can give you all the advice in the world, good, bad, whatever you want to take it as, but I cannot write your story for you. It's just like anything else, right? I can give you the best workouts and the best diet in the world, but I cannot do your push-ups for you, right? Same thing. And it is the same across the board with anything you're trying to do. When it comes right down to it, it's up to you to get your book written. So that was kind of my, first reaction to getting that email. But then I kind of thought about it off and on for a few days, and I realized that I really was being kind of dismissive. There's a solution for everything, guys. And I don't mean a nebulous, it's different for everyone, hopefully it will work for you kind of solution, but a real solution. And I'm not saying that it doesn't need to be tailored to you. It absolutely does. Writing, we know, is a very personal thing, and it's unique to each person, and especially your writing process is going to be unique to you. So of course you need to tailor it to yourself, and of course it's going to be a little bit different for each and every person. But what I will say is that 99% of people, these writing suggestions, the ones I talked about in this episode, like time blocking and planning beforehand and all of that, they do work. They have been proven to work over and over and over again, okay? Like literally thousands upon thousands of writers have had success with them. So there might be a few people they don't work for, but I don't want you to just automatically assume that that's you, because chances are it's not. Now, don't jump down my throat if you've tried this and it hasn't worked before. I'm not saying that you're an idiot, and I'm not even saying that I don't believe you. I absolutely do. What I am saying is, again, that there's a solution for everything. So if this hasn't worked for you yet, you may be missing some elements, and those missing elements are why it's not working. And honestly, that could be said of just about any part of the writing process, including the planning of your story. If your story is not working, if it has not clicked, if you are not in a mad rush to get that thing written because you know exactly how it's going to go, then you're missing some elements. And once you get those elements figured out, then it will click and it will work, right? So it can be true across the board of a lot of the different parts of a writing process. But today we're specifically talking about getting the words written. Okay? So here's the thing. I know that I said this on a previous podcast, probably in the last week or two, but I'm going to say it again. You cannot out-strategize a bad mindset. And on the flip side, you also cannot out-mindset a bad strategy. So what does that mean? Well, you can have the best strategy in the world. You can read all the craft books in the world and all the marketing books in the world and put the best advice that's out there that's working today into circulation for you. But if you have a bad mindset to where you don't believe it's going to work for you, guess what? It's not going to work for you. Now, on the other side, you can have the best mindset in the world. This is going to work. I'm going to figure it out. It's going to be great. And expect it to be great and expect it to work for you. But if you're using really bad strategy, if you're doing the things that worked in 2014, then it's still not going to work for you. And your mindset is a good thing because hopefully it means that you will eventually find the things that work. But again, you need both elements. Now, sometimes mindset is a little bit hard to grasp because it has to do with things that are unseen. So let's look at an example that's a little more tactile. I like to use baking examples because I bake a lot. So let's say you're trying to bake a cake. In the baking world, you often hear about wet ingredients versus dry ingredients. And you can probably guess what these are. The wet ingredients are things like butter or oil. Usually sugar is considered a wet ingredient, or at least it's creamed together with the wet ingredients. Eggs, vanilla, they're literally what they sound like. They're wet ingredients. The dry ingredients are things like flour, baking soda, baking powder, baking cocoa, anything like that that doesn't automatically feel wet in your hand. That would be a dry ingredient. And generally, for a lot of recipes anyway, of course, each one is unique, but you generally tend to cream together the wet ingredients and then you add in all the dry ingredients. And that is what makes the cake recipe work. If you were to try to do one dry ingredient and then one wet ingredient and then one dry and then one wet, you would end up with this sloppy mess that doesn't combine correctly. It wouldn't make the correct chemical reactions to make the cake actually work, right? But the point I'm trying to make here is that you need both wet and dry ingredients, okay? You can't say, oh, I'm going to make a cake and I'm going to get the best wet ingredients. I'm going to get all organic, top of the line, really expensive, sourced from the best sources, all of that, and they're going to be stellar wet ingredients. Oh, but I don't need the dry ingredients. Yes, you do, because your cake is not going to work. It is not going to bake right if you only have the wet ingredients. And vice versa is true. You can't say that you only need really great dry ingredients and not put the wet ingredients in there. It won't work. Okay. So that is basically what a lot of people try to do when it comes to things like writing or starting a business or both, anything they're trying to accomplish. They try to just do one or the other. They either have a great mindset, but they're not doing the, physical strategic things they need to do to get something accomplished, or vice versa. They're doing all the strategies, but their mindset sucks. Okay. You have to have both if you want to be successful. And I can attest to this because for years, my mindset was not where it needed to be. And I was never very successful. And it made all the difference when I finally got my mindset on track. And it wasn't like an overnight sensation or anything like that. It's still a process, but things really started to rapidly change once I got my mindset where it needed to be. Okay. So much that I could feel it. It was tangible, the change. So you really do need both. And I guess what I'm trying to get at here, what does this have to do with following all the great writing advice and it still isn't working for you? It's that you're probably missing the mindset element, because the person who wrote me this email just talked about how they would block time, but then they would sit down and not get anything accomplished. And they would try to plan, but it didn't work. And it was just better to kind of figure things out as they went along. Now, in terms of your writing process, that's fine. Do whatever works for you. Sounds like they're more of a pantser than an outliner, and that's perfectly okay. But if you're sitting down to get work done and you're not getting work done, there's a reason for that. It's not just because time blocking doesn't work for you. Okay, that's you're jumping to a conclusion that is incorrect. If it's not working for you, there's a reason it's not working for you. What are you doing during that time instead of getting your work done? Chances are you're getting distracted. You've got a million things going on in your head that you're thinking about rather than focusing on your story. We talked about, like I said in the last episode, Maybe you didn't plan well enough, so you get distracted, by something in your story, something you haven't planned yet that's a missing element. Okay, understandable, but it's still a distraction, right? So if you're finding yourself in this situation where you're trying to do all the things and you think it should work and it's just not because your brain is just too busy to get the work done, then I'm going to teach you a strategy to try to calm your mind and actually get the words written. Because guys, the problem here is just that you are distracted. There's too much going on in your head. You are not focusing on your story. You are not, really buckling down to get the work done. And believe me, I know how hard it is. We all have those days. I've been through them before. There have been times that I've sat down and I really have thrown up my hands and given up. And it's usually because I'm too tired and I'm just not in the right headspace and I need to go take a nap and then I can come back to it and then I'll get it done. And there are times when you have to do that for your own mental health, and that's fine. But if it's happening every single time you sit down, to where you say, oh, time blocking just doesn't work for me, we need to take a step back and be really honest with ourselves about, are we getting in our own way here? Is it really the time blocking that's the problem, or is it your brain and the fact that you're not doing, what you need to do to make it work for you? You're not creating the right atmosphere, the right ambiance, whatever the case may be. So I'm going to give you, 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4 steps, I didn't count them beforehand, to just sort of get yourself in the right headspace to actually get this done. And doing a little kind of pre-ritual like this, it really helps. I mean, it may take some practice. I'm not saying that the very first time that you do this, it's automatically going to make all the difference in the world, although it might. It does for some people. But practicing it every single day, you will start to create those pathways in your brain that lead to habits. And you will start to naturally, every time you do this, you'll just instantly snap into the headspace of writing, okay? So it may take a little bit of repetition. It may take a little bit of practice, but start doing it immediately and you'll be amazed at the difference that it makes, okay? So here we go. Great. Grab your journal or your paper and your pencil or whatever it is you take notes on, and this is what you're going to do. I want you to find a relaxing place to sit. You can definitely do this in the same chair you're going to be writing from if you want, but you don't have to. You can do this sitting anywhere, just anywhere that you can kind of relax. I want you to relax every single part of your body. Now, those of you who are in a big frenzied hurry all the time, and that's why you're not getting your writing done, you're going to want to just do this really fast. Okay, relax, 1, 2, okay, I'm relaxed. No. That's not the right way to do it. You need to relax slowly from head to toe. So think about, I don't know if you guys have ever done those, they do them sometimes on workout videos or in yoga classes where they walk you through relaxing every part of your body. So they'll start by saying, focus on your scalp, relax your scalp. Focus on your forehead, relax your forehead so there's no wrinkles, you're not bunching up any of the muscles or the skin. Now focus on your cheeks, and they just go down every single part of your body and tell you to relax it. Get rid of every bit of tension you have. Get rid of every, little bit of energy that you're holding on to. Relax everything, okay? And that should take you, it doesn't have to take a long time, but it should take a couple of minutes. It shouldn't be instantaneous. Give yourself 2 or 3 minutes, walk through every part of your body, and you will feel different parts of your body relaxing that you didn't realize you were holding tension in, okay? So relax every part of your body. Then I want you to sit in the quiet for a minute. Again, it doesn't have to be long, but you are literally quieting your mind here, getting rid of the social media distractions and the television distractions, the Netflix, the family distractions, everything you had to do at work, everything that's on your to-do list, even your story. At this point, you are just relaxing and quieting your mind, okay? So sit in the quiet for, at least 30 to 60 seconds, longer if you want to. You might eventually get to the point where you really love doing this and fall asleep rather than getting your writing done, which is a problem too, but it's just so relaxing that you will come to really enjoy it, all right? But then after you've sat in the quiet for a few minutes or however long works for you, this is where it gets really, really important. You need to identify yourself, you need to own your identity and your intentions. So literally all that means is you need to tell yourself who you want to be in this moment or during this next writing session. So something as simple as, I am a fiction writer. I am a novelist. And then your intentions is what you're going to do. I am going to get this chapter written. Now, you can do something as generic as what I just said, and that will work. But I would encourage you to be a little bit more specific to you, to your story. So something like, I am a high fantasy fiction writer, and I am going to write the scene where my character Wenlin goes to Tranquil Village with his dragon and encounters the Black Mist. Okay, yes, that actually is a chapter from the book I'm working on. But just do something specific so that you are focusing on what it is that you're trying to get written. Now, why does this work? Why is it important? I want to explain it a little bit because it will help you. It'll help you accept it a little bit more, I think, if you understand the why. I've talked before, especially in past weeks, about how meditation and relaxation can really change things because you're talking to yourself on a subconscious level. Okay, so you've got to understand that everything on the conscious level is where the noise is. And it's not all bad. Some noise is good. It's just our life, living our lives. But when you go to the subconscious level, there's no noise there. And that's where you can really deeply ingrain habits and identities and intentions. So you want to make sure that you're ingraining good ones, right? So you're owning your identity, saying, I am a writer. I am someone who gets my writing done. I am someone who can sit down and write a chapter without blinking an eye, okay? If you say that over and over to yourself and you're in this really relaxed state, you will start to believe that and you will start to act like that outwardly. And this is why it can really make a big overnight difference. Like I said, it might take some practice for some people, but the people that it does make a big overnight difference for, it's because they've never done that before. And they're just amazed that by simply doing what I'm telling you to do, to relax and own your identity, outwardly, it starts to become a lot easier to do. Okay, it can be really magical at times. All right, and then setting the intentions of what you're going to do. Again, you can do this without the relaxation. You can say, okay, I'm going to get this chapter done, and just sit down and say that out loud to yourself. Even doing that helps a lot because you're speaking your intentions and you're a lot more likely to stay on track and get it done. But this is just taking it to a deeper level. When you're doing this and speaking to yourself subconsciously, it just becomes more powerful, and that means that it becomes easier to do in a physical sense, okay? So that's all we're doing here. And guys, this is what basic meditation is. It's not anything to be afraid of or think that it's really super woo-woo or anything. It is literally relaxing your body, relaxing your mind, figuring things out on a subconscious level. And I got news for you. Studies have shown, and this is something that has been scientifically proven, that creation takes place on a subconscious level. Now, most of the times, people who talk about meditation, meditation gurus and such, they talk about creating your life, creating your dreams, creating your perfect relationships. And all of that is great. I'm not meaning to cheapen that or anything. I believe that, and I think that's all true. But think about what we're dealing with here. We're talking about writing. We're talking about creating fiction, literally creating a story. That creation happens on the subconscious level, whether we want it to or not. So we might as well tap into that subconscious fount of creativity. And that's all I'm asking you to do here. Go to a subconscious level by relaxing your body and your mind, and then own your identity and your intentions. Now, once you've done that, and that whole thing can take like 5 minutes. It doesn't have to be some long drawn out process, okay? And the more you do it, the easier it will become. So maybe the first time it takes you like 6 or 7 minutes to get through the whole thing, and then you're like, wow, that felt like it took forever. But then as you start going, like I said, it will become a habit so that the instant you sit down and start relaxing, you'll just instantly fall into the right frame of mind, and you'll be able to do it in like 30 seconds, okay? So just keep practicing it. It will get easier. It'll probably get faster if you want it to, but like I said, you might even not want it to get faster because this is your relaxation time. You might want it to be longer. So anyway, once you've done all of that, okay, you've relaxed, you've owned your intentions, you've owned your identity, then it comes to the point where we actually need to open our eyes, come back to the conscious level of things, and get our writing done. So what I would recommend at that point is for you to go over what is going to happen in this part of the story that you want to write in a way that is very kind of a free writing or free association thing. Now, you can just do this in your mind. Honestly, I don't always write it down or type it out when I'm doing this, but I will just sit back and think about everything I want to have happen in my chapter. And before long, it's playing in my head the way that I want it to be. So I am going over what's going to happen, the conversations, what's going to be said, what the characters are going to do, what they're going to feel. This is where if you have notes on the scene, if you have notes on what the character motivations are, you know, especially what their maybe emotional cues are, this is where you can go over those notes so that they're fresh in your mind and you know how the characters are going to act and react. Take a few minutes to do that so that you have everything, you know, really well placed in your mind. Now, some people may not be able to do that just in their head because that's exactly what's going to get them off track. They're going to start thinking about other things. They're going to get distracted. So if that's you and you can't just do that in your head without jumping off the rails pretty quickly, then either grab a paper and pencil or pen or use your keyboard and start typing it out. Now, for you pantsers, this is kind of what you do anyway. You just start typing it out, right? And letting it flow as you're typing it. It's kind of the story's coming through your fingers, from your brain through your fingers, right? That's how a lot of pantsers describe it. But for those of you who aren't pantsers as much, you can still type it out. You can still, this is kind of what I teach. It's like structured journaling. You can focus on your story, but sort of relax your mind and let it go and just see what comes out of it. Because if you know, especially if you're someone who's stuck on what the scene is, you're like, okay, well, I know in this scene that this character needs to find this out and then this needs to happen. Okay, great. But I have no idea what it's going to look like. I have no idea what's actually going to happen in the scene. Okay, well, this is the perfect exercise for you. Just relax your brain. Don't try to force it. Kind of let the ideas flow. You know, make it almost like a free writing or free association thing. And you can either type it or you can write it out, whatever works for you. And you will be amazed the amount of story that flows out of you in that state. Okay, maybe you won't even use it all. Maybe you won't even use any of it. But that is the way to connect ideas, to come up with solutions for your story. And having done the relaxation and owning your intentions beforehand will make all the difference in how well it works. Okay. So that was a lot. I'm going to recap it really fast, but once again, if you're still having trouble getting your words written and you have done all the things like time blocking and, you know, getting rid of distractions and creating a writing space for yourself and all of that, and it still just isn't working quite as well as you would like because you keep getting distracted or there's just too many things, too much noise going on in your head, then try this technique, okay? It may take a few times to get it to work perfectly, but it will work if you keep at it. I promise you. And for some of you, it's going to work like hotcakes the first time. You're going to be amazed. Okay. So once again, you're going to sit down in a comfortable place, wherever you want, and relax every part of your body. Go through every part of your body from the top to the bottom and relax every part of your body. Let go of tension anywhere you're holding it so you are deeply and thoroughly relaxed. Sit in the quiet for a minute or two so that you're just quieting your mind. Then you're going to own your identity and your intentions. I am a fiction writer. I am going to get the scene written. And you know what, guys? I would even recommend that you add in something about how easy it's going to be. I am going to quickly and easily and efficiently figure out this chapter and get it written. Okay? It really does work. If you are thinking that it, you know, yes, I will get it written, but it's going to be a slog, guess what? It's going to be a slog. If you're thinking that it's going to be easy, your brain will naturally make that happen. It will relax to the point where you will have more of a flow of ideas and it will become easier. So expect good things. When you own your intentions, expect good things to happen. Expect it to come easily. Expect the ideas to flow. Expect the words to come, the ones that are right, to get the story across to your readers. All of that. Own your identity and your intentions. Then, when you're done, take a few minutes to either sit and think about your story or do some free writing specifically about what you're about to get written, the chapter or the scene or whatever it is that you're about to tackle, and let the ideas flow. See it playing almost like a movie in your head, and then sit down and pound that puppy out. Okay, you get that chapter written, you get that scene written, and then you go about your day. And that is how I want you to think about your writing from now on. Yes, it is a creative process. Yes, we love to get lost in our fiction worlds, and you need to budget time to do that 100%. I do it all the time, okay? But when it comes to getting the chapter written, or whatever you're doing, I mean, this doesn't even have to apply to writing. It can apply to getting your outline written. It can apply to hashing out a scene that you haven't figured out yet. It can apply to editing, okay? Anything. just get the work done. And if your brain is working against you because there are so many distractions and you have so much going on and you cannot quiet your mind enough to focus on your writing, then you need to start a meditative practice like this to quiet your mind and get the work done. Okay? You are not going to become a best-selling author by not getting your writing done. It's just not a thing. So I would love it if you guys would let me know if you've tried this and what kind of results you have. I would love to hear if it made any kind of difference for you, okay? But that is what I have for you today. Have a wonderful week of writing. I hope some of you can do the meditation and that it really gets you excited about what's to come in your own writing career, about the stories that you can come up with once you start doing this and realize that you can work through any problem in any manuscript this way, okay? Everyone have a wonderful week of writing, and I will see you back here next time, same place. Bye. Thanks so much for listening today. Before you go, would you be willing to do me a solid? If you found any value at all in this episode today, would you be willing to share it with other authors just like you in the hopes that they might find some value in it as well? Happy story crafting this week. Remember, only you can bring the world the unique story that you are trying to tell. Only you can succeed in your own unique way in getting it out of your mind and your heart and into a medium where it can reach thousands, if not millions, of salivating readers. You don't have to worry about failure because there is always a market for awesome.